Thanks so much for HBS inviting me over here to speak. Really excited to chat about what we've been up to at Circle/Poloniex, and again, this is going to be basically everything that we look at when we are looking to list a different asset on our exchange. So just to kick it off, I want to just say this is not just for informational purposes only. It's not legal advice or financial advice. This is also not comprehensive on everything that we look at. It's just meant to be an overview of our framework that we look at when we're exploring assets to list. So quickly, what is Circle and Poloniex? So Circle is a crypto finance company. We started back in 2013, and our main goal is to change how people create and share value. We are one of the largest crypto companies in the world. We've raised a lot of money, and I think we have about 280 employees. Our headquarters is here based in Boston, and we have offices around the world. We have a number of different business units, but today I want to talk a lot about Poloniex. So Poloniex is an interesting exchange. It's been around really early. It was founded in January 2014. So it was really early. We offer 60 different assets and over 60 different assets. And at one point, Poloniex was the largest crypto exchange in the world by volume. So Circle actually was able to acquire Poloniex in early 2018, and we've been going from there. It's been quite a journey and a lot of fun. So who am I? Just a quick background on me. So my title is Senior Product Manager at Crypto Assets. And my day-to-day job is leading our partnerships, our prioritization, due diligence, and basically quarterbacking this entire process of getting an asset listed on our exchange. I've been in this industry as a crypto miner. I started, I heard about Bitcoin back in, I think 2011, 2012, and I started mining it in 2013. I actually did not mine enough Bitcoin. It was way too much Dogecoin. It's going up, but we'll see. Yeah, since then, just been a crypto evangelist, investor, active community member, and I founded a master-node staking service last year, kind of a small project, kind of putting people's tokens to work, earning interest. And in a prior life, I started a politics app called We the People, and we're one of the biggest apps around the 2016 election. And if you want to hear more of my random musings about crypto, you can follow me on Twitter at JetBreed. So yeah, jumping into it. This is like an overview of our evaluation process. So it's quite an epic process from going from hearing about an asset from first all the way going through listed. And so we have like two main stages. First, we start with an initial screening and data collection. So we have different leads come to us inbound. There are a lot of token teams that will apply to Poloniex. We'll also do a lot of outbound research, what's interesting out there, and reach out to those teams. Once a project looks interesting, we'll have an interview call with those teams and kind of learn what they're up to and what they're all about. And while this is going on, we do like general research, what's publicly available. And if an asset looks really good, then we kind of bring it to the next level. There's a lot of investment on our side with listing an asset because we do deep dives for each of these assets in 3 different ways. So we do like a product and business evaluation, figuring out what's a product opportunity, what's a business opportunity for listing this asset, and I'll go deep into like kind of what we look at in that next. And then we do an engineering assessment. We look at the code, we look at the GitHub, we look at who's committing, we look at what this product's offering, and basically building out an implementation of this project on Poloniex. And a third key component is our legal analysis. Circle, we have some talented lawyers on staff that will look at the legal implications of listing an asset, securities analysis versus the utility of a token. So we basically write all these reports, we aggregate our information, and then the next and final step is bring it to our executive team for final approval. And hopefully, if they approve it, then all is good. And something I want to mention is we actually don't charge teams to be listed. There's a few reasons for that. Like one, regulatory pay to play is kind of frowned upon, but also we want to invest in the assets that we're listing. We kind of feel like they're joining the Polo family, and so charging them a significant amount is something we're trying to avoid. Yeah, there are 5 primary categories that we look at when listing an asset. First is the business model of the project. So we really ask ourselves first, does this project create real value for a meaningful number of end users? And is it set up to succeed? So what is the problem? We always go back to this. What is the problem that the project is trying to solve? And really, does that problem need distributed ledger technology to solve it? And going back to the utility of token, like, is there utility? Why is there a token? Why is it needed? And a really good pro tip is like having a third-party legal opinion letter kind of detailing its utility value versus securities value. And we also look at the competitors. Who else is trying to solve this problem? How are they doing it? How far along are they? And then timeline of the stages of development. So this is always tricky. A lot of these projects have very aggressive timelines, like they're going to, launch mainnet in 1 month, and then ends up being 6 months. But so we really, really want to focus on realistic milestones and figure out this team can launch when they can. And treasury model incentives. What is the team doing with their treasury to incentivize people to build on their platform and to continue its success? And the second is technology. So each of these categories, we're always going back again. There's a main question: does the project really employ robust underlying technology in the relation of its goals? So is it open sourced? That's like an important thing, right? Is it well documented? We usually will have third parties submit us security audits on the project to figure out if this is something that is secure or not. We, again, look at the level of active development. How many contributors are there giving to this project? And what are they actually contributing? So a lot of times in GitHub, somebody might update a README file, and that counts as a commit. So we really kind of dig into what's being committed and how's it going. The current stage of development, when we're going to launch mainnet, is really important. And trying to figure out when realistically we can launch it. So we actually don't list any tokens until mainnet is available. So there's no like pre-trading or futures trading. And then also, does it have a robust bug bounty program? Are they incentivizing developers, white hackers to really like hit the code and see if there's any holes that they can find? And if the project's launched, we'll look at the distribution of the nodes, how distributed are they across the country or across the world, and how many are there and how they're coming to consensus. And then one really big thing is people. Who's actually behind these projects? Does the team have a strong and committed, experienced team behind it? So we look at the team. Who are the founders? What is their experience with blockchain or open source technologies? Successful exits, how large the team is developing this. We're kind of like a VC, to be honest. Like, really understanding the people behind it is a really important thing. Are they going to stick with it? And do they have experience in the past being successful? Brand name investors are actually pretty important too. These investors have done their own due diligence and they have significant skin in the game. So that's actually quite important. It tells us, it kind of indicates to us that this is a project that we should take a look at. Who are the advisors? Are they notable advisors? And then also getting into how the advisor is connected to the project. Are they just listed on the website? Like, is it just a photo of Ryan Gosling, or is the people connected to the advisor actually helping the project? Any kind of partnerships that this project has started, we kind of look at, what partnerships are in place or close to being in place to help us determine if this is going to be good. So, and then also governance model, who is it's really important. I think a problem that a lot of these these technologies are trying to solve is like when things need to be changed, like how does a distributed system actually make choices, right? So you have like an on-chain model like a Tezos or more of a foundation model like a Ethereum or even Bitcoin, and how, who's controlling, if there's a board of directors, who controls those board directors. And so it's always interesting to see what the governance model is for these projects. Then we get more into business decisions, market dynamics. Is there interest in this project? Will there be liquidity? We look at the community, how many people are in the Telegram channels and the Reddit and all their social channels. But more importantly than how many, because a lot of people will like buy like a lot of followers or whatever. The engagement level. What are people? How often are people talking about the projects, and what are they talking about? We look at the team and community dynamics. So like how the team is like, a lot of times they'll be really upfront and they'll update different project or their community on like what's happening. And the questions are answered fast. Also like in these social channels, like you'll notice like a lot of times like they're talking about the price going up and like all these like speculative things rather than the actual problem they're solving, the technology. We look at word of mouth. Oh, so this is actually pretty important. So we have a lot of people on the ground that have their ear to the ground that are really connected, that will send us leads. And that's kind of a really good indicator that this project is legitimate. Obviously, just quickly, we look at the number of exchanges, if it's live, the volume, the available pairs. It gives us an opportunity, hey, if there's a pair missing, could be something we could do. The level of demand on those exchanges, basically just looking at volume. Is this an actively traded asset? And we then look at the market cap compared to similar assets. Has it grown in the past? How's it been doing? One thing I do want to mention is we do like to be early / first to list on assets. So a lot of this is not included in that when we're in that position, to really understand and kind of be on the bleeding edge like Poloniex has been known to be. Also, if there is an ICO, the distribution of the contribution amounts, how distributed it is. Like there's some ICOs out there that will have 5 wallets to control 95% of the entire supply. So we like seeing it more distributed. The actual model that is in terms of supply, is it a fixed model? Does it increase over time? Why does it increase? How does it increase? What's really, building these things are really hard. And obviously the founding team needs to be incentivized, and, how much do they hold? But what's more important is their vesting and lockup period. Are they going to stick around for the long haul to build this thing? So kind of really getting the nitty gritty of the token sale economics is something that we spend a good amount of time looking at. And then just like the last thing is general fundamentals. So these all kind of need to be a yes of this project. And like, does this project align with the core tenets of the cryptocurrency community? So what is this project adding to the industry? What's the new infrastructure that it's adding? And kind of really understanding what it's contributing. A lot of these projects will market themselves as like get rich quick. And we really want to find projects that aren't necessarily doing that they're really more talking about rational participation by their investors, and that they're actually solving a problem. And just a basic, how the project really does give the end user additional freedoms and control to their data. That kind of goes across all crypto. And again, does the problem actually, is it solved with DLT, the technology, and peer-to-peer networks? So those are all important factors that we look at, just general fundamentals. And then the last thing, just some housekeeping questions. Who the legal counsel is. I would recommend always having some sort of legal counsel to help guide through this process. Where the company / entity is located. This is pretty important. It's pretty interesting. There are a lot of teams that are super distributed that maybe don't have a centralized entity, which is actually a big positive. But seeing which jurisdictions they're in, just pretty basic. Have they been subpoenaed in the past is something that we want to make sure that they haven't been. And have they been delisted before? And if they have, why from other exchanges? So yeah, those are pretty much everything that we kind of look at. And that's pretty much all I have. I guess we can go to questions. We have about 5 minutes for questions.
So what are your standards for delisting tokens?
Yeah, so there's a few things that we look at. First, how a lot of these projects will get launched, and then we look at how their teams are developing on top of it. So a lot of times they'll be abandoned and they'll kind of sit there. So the active development, is it continually being developed? We'll look at the securities risk over time. If this kind of looks like a security, then that could also cause it to be delisted. And then obviously liquidity. If nobody's trading on it, and this is a very unpopular token, we may decide to delist. Andrew.
Who's paying for the third-party audits or on the security of the token side or the legal side?
The team, the project themselves. Usually, most projects have allocated some funds from their fundraise to get these third-party audits in place.
In a space where the SEC has pretty clearly said that you should come talk to them directly for issues related to securities law, how do you assess the value of an opinion from counsel reaching a determination in an issue that basically the SEC has said you need to come talk to them for no action about it?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. So we have SEC lawyers on staff, and we actually have a pretty open dialogue with the SEC at Circle. And it's something we're really, really careful about on listing assets and securities risk. We do value a third-party opinion letter by a legal entity. It does help, but it's not the end-all be-all. It's more about our analysis about the risk of the securities.
Generally, how long does it take to do a review of an asset? And I understand they're all different, they have different complications, but if you had time.
Like a full review of everything? It really depends. So some of these assets, we might learn that their launch date's coming up quicker, and so we'll be able to push it through faster. But on average, I'd say 6 weeks to 2 months.
One thing that is becoming, it seems, more popular is the idea of an initial exchange offering, where tokens are sort of lodged with an exchange and then sort of resold without a quote-unquote ICO. Is that something you see or aware of? Is that a trend you think that's meaningful?
Yeah, so are you talking about transaction mining? So there's this thing called transaction mining where exchanges will launch their own token, and basically when you trade on their exchange, they'll reimburse you in their token.
Third-party tokens, sorry. Third-party tokens that you might otherwise list.
I see. Like an exchange listed exchange token on Poloniex.
Right, but that hasn't otherwise been sold to third parties. It first goes on the exchange and then gets distributed to third parties from the exchange.
Yeah. We again, we look at, so there are assets out there that are listed by exchanges in terms of if it does reach all of the analyses and all the requirements that we mentioned, we will definitely look at it and potentially list it. So, yep.
So some jurisdictions, notably in Asia Pac, they're highly against these more anonymous tokens like Zcash, Monero, and recently Grin. So how does that interplay with your listing of Grin?
Good question. Nice. Yeah, we listed Grin last week. And for those who don't know, Grin is a privacy asset. One thing that we do at Poloniex is everybody who comes to Poloniex, all of our customers are fully KYC'd. So they go through a pretty strict process to understand who our customers are. They upload an ID and all that kind of stuff. So anybody who's trading Grin will know who they are on our exchange. And so we looked at that as well as the other analyses of like their distributed team, and there's no specific foundation found that the risk seemed like it was a worthy risk. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.